Good morning and welcome to Lotus, linking others to unify Shrindom. If this is your first time tuning in to Lotus, Lotus is a live and interactive podcast designed to connect you to the leaders in our organization. Lotus will also be spotlighting extraordinary nobles and daughters that are doing awesome things on a day-to-day basis. I am your host, daughter Jacqueline Netherland. I am out of Mula Court number 22, Oasis of Memphis, Desert of Tennessee. The Oasis of Memphis is also the home of our Imperial headquarters, where we are under the leadership of the 44th Imperial Potentate, Noble John T. Chapman, and the 48th Imperial Commanderess, daughter Jacqueline Brown Arredondo. Today's podcast is being brought to you by the Imperial National Jubilee Day Service and Daughters Thanksgiving Service and Feast. National Jubilee Day is June the 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the Daughters Thanksgiving Service and Feast is May the 16th at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Both services will be aired on the Imperial Media Relations page, so please tune in. If you would like for the Imperial Media Relations team to help you market your event, please send in your flyer or 30-second video to PR@AEAOMNS. Remember, Lotus is live, so don't forget to comment, like, comment, subscribe, and share this podcast. Now it's time for the Who You With segment of the show. So please drop your temples and courts in the chat pane and let us give you a shout out. Okay. Good morning from Alizar Court number 181. Thank you for tuning in. And we have another good morning for Ossipity Court number 186. Good morning again. Way to represent Alizar Court number 81. I see you, Mula. We got daughter Kim Shropshire out of Mula Court number 22. We got Deputy of the Desert, Pierre Rutledge. Thank you for tuning in to the Lotus Show. We have another one from Ossipity Court number 186, Oasis of Valdosta, Desert of Georgia. Thank you for tuning in. Well, good morning from Allison Bryan from Al Barker Court 168, Oasis of Camden, Desert of South Carolina. Thank you for tuning in. We got Rissa. I see you, Rissa Court number 80. All right, we got Chris Becken, Alzar Temple, number 149. And we got good morning from Nabar Temple, number 128. Good morning and welcome to Lotus. All right, our guest today is Assistant Ray-Ban, Noble Nasheed Mad Ewan. He is out of Ahmed Temple, number 37, Oasis of Tallahassee, Desert of Florida. Welcome to Lotus.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Our pleasure. Yes, absolutely. Our pleasure.
Oh.
So, Dr. Nasheed Mayuen, tell us a little bit something about yourself.
Well, as you mentioned, I come from the great desert of Florida and Ahmed Temple number 37. But I'm originally from Arkansas, a small town in Helena, just south of Memphis, as you mentioned. And I have had the fortune to capture history, present history, and work for a lot of leading institutions and museums and preserving our culture. It's been remarkable.
Yes, preserving our culture is very important. So we're so happy that you've been able to contribute in that manner. So you're a Shriner and you are a noble. Mm-hmm. So what are your roles in those organizations?
Well, as Shriner, as Assistant Ray-Ban, we try to galvanize the talents of these amazing gentlemen that have progressed through masonry to make good men better and contribute to our community. As a matter of fact, in the desert of Florida and the state of Florida, we've taken the charge and led the charge throughout the pandemic. And some of our numbers have risen because we recognize there's a very charitable and forthright and upcoming organization. And as a worshipful master of Excelsior 754, we try to find ways to take literature, spirituality, philosophy to help position men to contribute and eventually become Shriners. We're doing a great job here in Tallahassee.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
So speaking of Shriners,
Right.
each year on the first Sunday in June, Prince Hall Shriners around the world observe something called Jubilee Day.
Right.
Can you tell us about the significance of that day and what is the history behind it?
Well, so that's a culmination of a lot of events and parallel issues. I kind of use my hands when I talk because this is a remarkable feat. You know, you hear about the Divine Nine and the significance of the contributions of sororities and fraternities, but had it not been for the Supreme Court issue in 1929 that the African American or Negro Shriners champion, there may not be a Divine Nine. And as you look at post-Civil War activity and the rise of the Black middle class and the ways of the Ku Klux Klan, Black identity was challenged. And the Negro Shriners were able to progress and form a group of elites to contribute to the community. And that threatened the status quo. And the ability to wear regalia, the fairs, the ceremonies and rituals were at it reached a threshold with white Shrindom that we could not, if I'm a white Shriner, we cannot let this happen. We need to quelch the entrepreneurship, the intellectual capacity, the rise of the Black middle class. So he said, well, you can't do that. Fortunately, the Negro Shriners had incorporated and presented themselves as upright and had documented themselves properly and were able to win that case. Had that not happened, then white Greek fraternities could say that African-American fraternities and sororities were infringing on their colors and activities. So we celebrate Jubilee Day to say, hey, we are able to galvanize and bring our communities together and do good work in the community. It's remarkable. And we need to celebrate that and share that story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very, very rich history. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely. We're getting ready to do another Who You With segment. And let's do it. We got Khazar Temple number 149 in the house. Thank you for tuning in, Chris Becker. We have Al Karif Court 69, just fine. Thank you so much, Jeanette, for tuning in. Well, good morning from Al Musa Court number 227, Oasis of West Memphis, Desert of Arkansas. Thank you, Lachey. Good morning from Achman Court number 195. Oasis of Darien, Desert of Georgia. Thank you for tuning in. We got Claudette out of Al Nasser, Oasis of Javier de Grace, Desert of Maryland. Thank you for tuning in. Well, good morning, Kimberly. She's out of Alabala Court, number 75. We see you, Kimmy. We have daughter Tanya. She's out of the Oasis of Hopkinsville, Desert of Kentucky. Thank you for tuning in. We have daughter Freeman out of Fez Court, number 195, Desert of Western Europe. Good morning. Good to see you. We have Alarif Court, number 69. Jeanette, thank you for coming back. If I pronounced that incorrectly, apologies. All right. Dr. Nasheed.
Yeah.
You are the director of the Black Archives Museum at Florida A&M. And before that, you ran Hampton's University Museum, the oldest African American museum. What was your affiliation to the museum?
So I was responsible for positioning artifacts, collecting artifacts, finding documents, and telling the story of our culture. Across this country, people sometimes overlook or neglect the contributions of African Americans to the strengths of society. That's through African American art, innovation, music, and however. But my role is to champion that and present that and tell the stories of great individuals. Some are widely recognized, and some are yet to be told. And that's my challenge, and that's my work.
Okay, outstanding.
Yeah.
Remember, Lotus audience, this is a live interactive podcast. So drop those questions in the chat pane for our guests. So Nasheed,
Yes.
What was your influence in building the Stax Museum in Memphis?
Wow. So that was about 20 years ago, and it was my first stint as a museum director. And they were fortunate enough to catch me when I didn't understand the value of my skill set. So I was the curator, the writer, the marketing director, and of course the museum director. And a good story, I had an opportunity to interview and talk with Isaac Hayes, Al Green, Sir Mac Rice, Willie Mitchell, and tell their story and find the way to influence and contribute to the story that African Americans and white America were working together to contribute great music, and not just Motown and the Philly sound, but the Southern soul sound was important as well. And one good story was I had the opportunity to help locate Isaac Hayes' 1972 Peacock Blue gold trim Cadillac.
Ooh, okay.
It had a refrigerator, a TV that got 3 channels, and a telephone in 1972. And so we restored it and were able to bring it across the city. And there are pictures of me backing it back into the building and putting it on a turntable. And now it spins and shows off a glare that everyone can see that, Memphis and the Memphis sound was strong and popular.
Right. Absolutely.
Good.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. Yeah. B.B. King is a legend, as we all know. Right. What is the history behind his 80th birthday guitar?
Well, Little Boy Blue, or B.B. King, had this 335 Gibson semi-hollow body guitar, and eventually was made out of Memphis, right? And we hear about the stories that he was playing in a juke joint and caught fire. He ran back in to get it because there was no guitar that could bring forth that type of sound, that signature sound we know about him. But his 80th birthday was significant, in his age and his contributions. And Gibson saw fit to make a special anniversary guitar, 5 diamonds in the headstock. And during that time, when they built this guitar out of Memphis, Tennessee was the largest buyer, because of Gibson, the largest buyer of diamonds in the country. And all of the guitars were sold before they came off the rack. Yeah.
Are you serious? Sold before they? Wow.
Just, and worldwide. So, and it's a limited edition, so that, they're not going to make them again. So that was remarkable. B.B. King.
B.B. King. Absolutely. Okay, we're going to take a question from our audience. What inspired you to become a curator/director?
Well, thank you, Samuel Pierre Lewis, out of Desert of Florida. And, I encountered coming out of Arkansas, going to school in Mississippi, I encountered repeatedly that a lot of white America knew more about my history than I did. And I was a business major, and I kept taking history classes because there was so much I didn't know. And as I talked to friends coming back home for holidays, there were often a lot of times that my friends did not know some of the things I came across. And so I saw fit to change my major, and it's been a remarkable trek since then, exploring E-lane race rides of 1919 and some of the amazing feats of musicians and contributions in civil rights, and exposing those untold stories and heroes that otherwise we would never know.
Absolutely. It is so good to hear things from a art museum director's African American lens, because so many times our story is not told from us.
Right.
We have another question coming in from our audience. It's Samuel Pierre Lewis coming in from YouTube as well. What impact does it have upon the community?
Well, see, that's a good question. You know, there was a time when African Americans were not in the military. There was a time when African Americans were not considered intellectual. We were not in the HBCUs as we know them, and you know, Black identity was threatened, and the ability to preserve heritage and present it gives us an opportunity to show role models, to understand that we have always contributed. We've always been innovative, and we have something to aspire to. Otherwise, we have the risk of having our children look up to role models that do not reflect us. And so we have talents, we have daughters, we have nobles that are doing remarkable things in this country, and we need to let them shine so that the youth can see the strengths of society coming from African American culture.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have another question coming in from YouTube from Kimberly Shropshire. Do you play any musical instruments?
I've dabbled with the guitar. That's how I ended up with Gibson Music Instruments coming from Stax, but I don't play it well. I will not pick up. I have two guitars over here, and I will not expose my inexperience. But but I love soul music. I love blues, jazz. Thelonious Monk is one of my favorite jazz pianists, and you know, I'm one of those guys who can love the music and I can write about it, but I'm not going to get on stage and embarrass myself. Thanks for that question.
Okay, I have another question. What was your affiliation with the Smithsonian Museum?
Oh, so there are not a lot of Black museum directors, and there's an emerging population now, but for the past 20, 25 years, it was hard to find individuals like myself that were leading in the field. So over the years, I've had the opportunity to champion music museums, art museums, and history museums. And I was recognized as someone who could serve on the advisory board. So with the NAMOC, the New National Museum, African American History and Culture, I've served on 3 advisory boards and a few other activities and strategic planning. And as a matter of fact, the Black Museum on FAMU's campus is a part of a 5 HBCU consortium that just received $12.5 million over the next 5 years so that we can digitize our papers and documents and reveal handwritten letters by Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington that otherwise would not be shared. And it's because of this work we've been doing for the past 5 to 6 years. So I have a very good relationship with them. They have a great team that recognized from, you know, Europe and the South and all across the country. It's a good institution.
Outstanding, outstanding. We have another some questions coming in from our audience. We got Pierre Rutledge. How important is it to our organization to capture its history?
Well, you know, Deputy Rutledge, I think I recently saw a video where the desert of Florida was presenting an oral history of a gentleman enshrined him that was 102 years old. Had that not been captured, if we do not make the effort to capture these oral histories from people who may not decide to get on TV, that are not in the limelight, there are parts of our story that we'll never hear. I had the opportunity to talk with someone who was reluctant to talk. And I had to be patient and learned about their involvement in, you know, averting issues with the KKK and erecting Black business and working with HBCUs. And you'd never know it because the individual retired and was a line cook because they just wanted to be in the community. You never know where your heritage is, and we have to step out and preserve it.
Absolutely. We're going to take another question from our audience. Coming from the Deputy of the Desert, Jeanette Brown Vick. How can temples and courts establish a museum to highlight the Masonic accomplishments in their state?
All right. So it seems like a heralding feat, but it's a little easier than you would think. First, if you take about you set up a 501c3. There's an application, a 1023 form that you need to set up the mask over your LLC. But also in the meantime, just partner with your local museum, white or black. Partner with your local museum and gather some individuals from your court or temple, maybe 5 or 6, to start collecting oral histories, on your iPhone, but or something more formal, and set up a database, a cloud database or however, so it's safe and duplicated, and create these stories, find a way to present those, and that content can contribute to exhibitions. That's a start. Once you start to do that consistently, then you have what they call evidence of previous success, and you can take it to grant giving organizations. They know you have the capacity to deliver, you have the examples, and you have the polished product. Once you start doing those types of things, you're already creating a museum. It's a virtual museum at first, and then it becomes tangible brick and mortar. It's easier than you think, and just reach out to me. I'll be happy to guide any of you who are interested.
Well, thank you for offering to assist. Now we're going to go to Rep Your Temple or Court segment of the show again. We have Karen, past commandress Karen Curtsey out of Ahmed Court, number 134, Oasis of Tallahassee, Desert of Florida. Karen, thank you so much for tuning in. We have daughter Keisha Burrell out of Almuki Court, number 199. Thank you so much, Keisha, for tuning in. Good morning from Arabia Court, number 21. Thank you, daughter Michelle Stewart. Good morning from Arabia Court, number 21, Oasis of Chicago, Illinois. You're a proud graduate of Tuskegee University. Go HBCU. Good morning, daughter Belinda Jeffries, past commandress, honorary past illustrious commandress, Imperial Commandress, Desert of California. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have daughter Carla Harvey out of Al Kharik Court, number 179, Oasis of, I'm gonna not try to even mess that up, Desert of Western Europe. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have Deputy Samuel Pierre Lewis, Ahmed Temple, number 37, Oasis of Tallahassee, Desert of Florida. Samuel, thank you so much for tuning in. Dr. Nasheed Madyun, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the Lotus Show. Do you have any final thoughts?
Well, yes. I'm happy to be a part of this venture. You have a remarkable opportunity to highlight the strengths of society as it comes from African Americans. And if you don't continue to do what you're doing, and if we all don't support this great endeavor, then there's a lot of information, a lot of stories that are going to be lost. This is a remarkable venture, and I'm very happy to be a part of it.
Absolutely. We're so glad that you can share that. Now, I know we're getting ready to close out, but we just got another question in. And if you don't mind, we're going to take one more question from our audience.
No problem at all.
Okay, Vanessa Wade, Dr. Madyun, thank you for the great work you're doing to preserve our history and tell our stories. Is there a way to volunteer with the Black Archives to assist with your efforts?
Oh, yes, certainly. So our Facebook page, Black Archives, or MEBA, which is Mikitan Black Archives, I would say just reach out and submit your interest in volunteering as a tour guide or someone who can contribute and help us. Actually, this summer, we're going to do a lot of digitizing in our stacks or archives. But for those of you who are in different parts of the country, identify a museum and learn their scripts. Become a docent, which is an educated volunteer, so that we can tell the story right, our story, as opposed to having someone else tell our story. So thank you, Dr. Wade. That's a good highlight.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
If anyone wants to reach out to Dr. Maduin, you can do so at
Nasheed.maduin@me.com. Yeah.
That's right. Again, that email address is
Nasheed.maduin@me.com. Reach out to me and I'll see how I can help you.
I want to just say thank you again for just being an extraordinary noble in our organization. It is, it's our pleasure to spotlight you, and we wish you best wishes in your future endeavors, especially in preserving our history. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Audience, don't forget, Lotus is a live interactive podcast. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this podcast. Our next show will be the 4th Saturday in May. So tune in to IMR Facebook page for more information. So until next time, peace, love, and stay safe.